Good evening, everybody. Thanks for joining us here on the ice. Brought to you by Dokes Book Fuels, Case Financial Group, Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy, of course, Toby Hockey. Tonight here we've got a good pal of mine, an old friend. Back in the days of hers in college, Darnell, Duff, and I started doing a couple of fun things together. Our paths have now crossed several times, and now we're going to bring them back tonight to discuss the first half of the Manitoba Junior Hockey League. Some surprises, some goods, some bads, some not so greats, but also some updates on what we might see in the second half with some current trades and some pickups from some of the teams that are starting to make a splash atop some of the both divisions, of the Manitoba Junior Hockey League. Plus, in a couple of weeks' time, we should see the first showcase back in Manitoba, highlighting 60 players from each league in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, as well as the MJ. So we're going to welcome my good pal, a good pal of ours, the voice of the Dauphin Kings, Darnell Duff, to On the Ice here on ASTV. Joining me now, Darnell Duff from Dauphin, Manitoba. Darnell, Happy New Year. Great to see you, my old friend. Welcome to the show tonight.
Theo, Happy New Year. Always a pleasure of mine. I always enjoy when I get the Facebook message that you want me to come on the show. So always enjoy it. Looking forward to this. And once again, Happy New Year. Hopefully you're doing well too in Winnipeg. It's real cold here. It's real cold in Dauphin, I tell you.
Tell you one thing, Darnell, this weather doesn't invite me to pick out the cross-country skis, if you will, and to go for a little bit of patter around the yard. But I will say it's nice and warm when it comes to the rinks, and it's great to see fans still in the stands for the first half of the season thus far. Let's first and foremost talk about your Dauphin Kings and sitting atop the division. A fantastic plus minus in the goals, doing great keeping out of the penalty box a little bit. But what has been the success stories, a couple of the lead stories for the Kings to see them through the second half of the season to be atop of the division?
Well, I think, first and foremost, Caden Bryant, a 20-year-old from Winnipeg, a former forward of the year in the Manitoba AAA U18 Hockey League. Somewhat of a slow start to the season. You were wondering what was going to happen, but he really showed up at the showcase. He had back-to-back hat tricks. Now he has 37 points. He leads the league. Guys like Colby Jaquette, a former Selkirk Steeler from the back end, has 34 points. A young man, just 16 years of age, one of the youngest players. I believe he's the second youngest player in the MJHL in Braden Duby and Everett Silvertip, or Seattle Thunderbird, rather. He has 15 goals this season. He's having a tremendous season. But the most impressive thing this season has been the defense for the Kings. They've only allowed 66 goals. Carson Cherpak has been wonderful in net. He's had, some struggles at times, but what goalie isn't going to have struggles when you're playing on a night-by-night basis, especially with how this schedule works out when you're only playing weekend games this year? You can pretty much run the hot goalie for 2-3 months, and that has been the case. But Carson Cherpak, right up near the top in every statistical stat that really does matter. He's been backstopping the Kings, and a team that is 23-7. You look at that record, you think, yes, this is great. They probably, in a couple games, won that maybe, won the contest where maybe you think, well, maybe we shouldn't have, but at the same time, also lost a couple games that the team should have won. So overall, 23-7, you have to be happy. You're leading the West Division. You're only 1 point behind the Steinbach Pistons heading into the second half of the campaign. So a real good start for the club, but chatting with Doug Headley, the head coach and GM, he knows there's a long ways to go. The team has to improve. So looking forward to getting back at it on Friday, and we'll see what this team can do.
Seeing the second half coming up here, Darnell, the mix of players, the age group of players that Dauphin has, it lends itself to me thinking that there's not going to be much of a drop-off after this year. I mean, obviously we can't say for certain, but this team is built for the success now, but also success for the coming years.
Yeah, that is 100% perfectly said. This is a team that believes they can win a championship this year. But as you mentioned, this is a team that going in forward into next year and even a couple of years down the road believe they can win a championship as well. This team is built for now. They're built for the future, which is really, really exciting, not only for the organization, but for the whole community as well, because you date back to 2010, their success, 2014, but then starting really in 2016, a few dismal years for the team. In my first year with the club, they were 14-44, 1-1. Last year, they had some WHL talent, had a really strong roster, only had the chance to play 6 games, win 3-3. The year before, they made the postseason, but they were, near the bottom echelon of teams as far as championship caliber. This year, it's a complete switch. They're right up near the top, second place in the league, just 1 point behind. But you really did knock it on the head. Yes, they want to win a championship this year, of course, and they believe they can. But this is a team that also has been set up to win a championship next year, 2 years down the road, which really is a testament to the scouting staff, head coach and GM Doug Headley, to, when you talk about powerhouses in the MJHL every year, you talk about the Terriers, you talk about the Steinbach Pistons. It's nice that some other teams are going to try and get in the equation. I think that's what perhaps this league is missing. So if the Kings can, sustain this moving forward, this could be a real nice few years for the organization.
Dauphin sitting atop the West, like you said, right behind them, just about 4 or 6 points behind is Weiwei. Are they going to be the challenge for Dauphin for the second half of the season come playoff time, or is there another dark horse in the mix there?
Weiwei is a strong team. They picked up Eric Krywai from the Selkirk Steelers, a solid defenseman, somewhat of a stay-at-home defenseman, which I really do believe what Weiwei needs, because the Wolverines score a lot of goals, but they have also given up a ton of goals this season, somewhere in the range of 40 more than the Kings after the first half. So they certainly need to, I think, buckle down in the defensive zone. But they're a good team. They're a feisty team. They have a lot of talent. They work hard. Taylor Harnett. You talk about another head coach and GM that has done an incredible job. Also in my first year, I think Weiwei won 8 games or something like that. So they have gone from literally the bottom of the league to not even winning a dozen games a year to now being, in conversation to win a championship. So Weiwei is solid. And then you go down to the 3rd through 6th. It's anybody's ball game right now. You have Verdun and Nipawa tied for third and 4th heading into this weekend. And then right behind is the OCN Blizzard. So it is such a tight battle right now. But I really do believe it is a two-way race. Of course, 4 teams are going to make the postseason, but I just don't see that 3rd and 4th place team that makes the postseason at the end of the day competing in a 7-game series. They perhaps could get 1 or 2 games, but I just don't think the depth in those 3rd and 4th teams is there right now as of yet. Things could change in the trade deadline and they could improve heavily and, get on the heater in the second half. But I really do think this is a two-way race between Dauphin and Weiwei for 1st and 2nd for sure in the regular season anyways. And I think if they did ultimately end up meeting in a division final, that's a long ways away, of course. But if they did, it would be a real good series. Weiwei is especially tough to play in their home arena, and they're a pretty good road team as well. They're well coached, as mentioned. They work hard. They battle hard. So at the end of the day, these kids are junior hockey players. They battle for their lives. So whoever it's going to come up against the playoffs, it's going to be a good battle. But I'd love to see Dauphin and Weiwei meet in a 7-game series. You go back to the 4-game in the first half series. It was 3-1 for Dauphin. All 4 games were extremely competitive. So it leads me to believe that it's going to be like that the rest of the way.
As much turmoil, animosity, restrictions, problems, troubles, all the teams have faced up and coming into this year, nobody had it harder than OCN. I mean, talking with Coach Billy Keene, head coach GM Billy Keene, he's told me that the building, the infrastructure that went awry at the beginning of this season and getting it all set up to get the season even started on top of everything else was truly amazing that they're even having a season up in OCN. Tell me how that challenge is then equally balanced by the energy found in the buildings that you've been able to call the host and play-by-play for the Kings and the teams you've been able to travel around this far in the first half of the season.
Well, it really is a shame at sometimes because, you would think hockey's back. And I think the community support was there early on in some of the arenas I've been to anyways, which I believe is every rink except Jonathan Taves right now and Winkler, which we're going to see in the next 2 weekends here. But overall, I think the support is there for sure. I always have really enjoyed the atmosphere in Steinbach. They have their jumbo screen on the left side, and they always have a packed crowd, which is unfortunate that they can only have 250 fans in the crowd now. But it is what it is. That's just, nay or say. But the community support overall, I'd like to see some more in Dauphin. I'd love to see, more fans in the stands, outside around the community and that sorts of thing. But at the end of the day, these players are, doing a tremendous job of being ambassadors for the community, being great role models for the kids. They're getting out and about in a community, really doing everything they need to do. And you also have to give a tip of the cap to these organizations for the most part, staying COVID-free. That is not an easy journey, especially with this Omicron variant. It seems that everybody and their dogs is getting it. Like Manitoba had, upwards of 2,600 cases on Thursday. So you have to give it to the teams for rallying together and understanding that if they want to play the game they love and excel at, they need to stay safe. They need to take, perhaps some extra precautions that you may not take in a year that we weren't living in a pandemic, which has been a couple of years now. So yeah, I think, all the pressure on these teams to stay safe while competing to the best of their abilities, grinding it out, working out, everything that goes to putting together a championship team is pretty incredible. And being behind the scenes more, being working with the Kings this year, it's pretty impressive to see how much hard work goes into this, not only from Doug Headley, Chad Facey, Brad DePacky, Dan Keeping, all the coaching staff, the scouts as well. I got a behind-the-scenes look of training camp this year, how much hard work goes into that, and then the players. It's pretty incredible to see that what these guys do and the grind they have to go through over the course of a hockey season. It's very impressive to see, and I think it's just a tip of the cap to all these organizations that, as of Christmas, COVID-free in the MJHL, and that's awesome to see. And hopefully that just continues to be, the case moving forward.
Let's give a couple of minutes to the other division, East Division. Winnipeg Blues obviously came out of the gates flying high. Now, that probably was a test to the fact that they played their first 6 or 8 games against the Freeze and was able to build up quite a winning streak nonetheless. But Steinbach has truly come through with flying colors, overtaking top spot of the entire MJ thus far. Their pickups, their talent, their roster, are they built to, come out of the East and then challenge for that championship, you think?
Yeah, for sure. They're a good team. They just picked up Braden Burney from the Weyburn Red Wings of the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. They have a great goaltending duo in Simon Harkness, but Will Hambley has really stolen the show over the past couple of weeks, or the past probably month and a half, when the Kings and Pistons had a home and home. Well, first at the showcase, MJHL Showcase, Dauphin lit up Simon Harkness for 6 goals. They won that contest 6-2. But then you move forward to the home and home, that 1 game in Steinbach, 1 game in Dauphin. On Friday night, Will Hambley made 45 saves in a win for the Pistons. He was equally as impressive, didn't have to make as many saves the next night, but was still very solid. This is a Steinbach team that's only allowed 74 goals. That's second in the MJ behind the Kings, who have allowed 66. Paul Dick does an absolutely tremendous job. They play with great structure. They're tough to get behind. They have some speed. They play with pace. They have some offensive skill as well. I don't know if this is as deep as a team. Oh, I can almost guarantee and certain this isn't as deep as a team that won the championship a couple of years ago with the likes of Brad Schoonbart and Reese Gaber, who's now lighting it up playing Division I hockey with the North Dakota Fighting Hawks. This isn't as deep as a team as that, but this is still a very good team, and certainly they're championship contenders as well. They firmly believe that. I firmly believe that. And right now, I guess you could say they are the team to beat. They've taken down the Kings twice this season. Dolphins only beat them once, and they're first place in the MJHL. Now, they're going to have a tough test this weekend. They play the Wayway Capital Wolverines in a pair of games and a home and home. The Kings play the Winkler Flyers. The Flyers are a team that is certainly trending in the right direction. As you mentioned, the Winnipeg Blues off to a fantastic start. I believe they were number 1 in Canada at some point by the CJHL rankings. I don't know how much stock you put into those rankings, because there's teams in the SI, there's teams in the NO who just shouldn't be in there, but that it is what it is. That's, one person's opinion. But, it's the East Division is real tight. And then you have the Portage Terriers, who got off to a dismal start, and then they picked up points in 10 of their last 12 games. This was, dating back about about 3.5 weeks ago now after the Christmas break. And you had the Selkirk Steelers, who had a pretty comfortable lead in the 4th playoff spot, even got up to 3rd, but now they've sort of traded away the farm, all their top players. It looks like they're rebuilding. And the Winnipeg Freeze, unfortunately, a team that, unless they a miraculous comeback, they're going to miss the postseason. So it would appear almost in the East Division that we may have already locked up our 4 playoff teams. I know it's super early. Things can change. In the West, it's not the case. But the East is, there's some real good opponents led by Steinbach. Winkler's tough. The Blues, Dawson Green had a chance to play, practice with the Manitoba Moose this season. He's a strong goaltender, has, really helped propel them to their victories. And obviously the Portage Terriers, they're a decent team as well. And they're coached by Blake Spiller. They're going to host the Centennial Cup next year. So I think that when you look at this league overall, you probably have 4 or 5 teams that, or maybe even 6 that they believe they can win a championship. And that's pretty impressive. And that just goes to show what the MJ really is year by year. It's just continuing to improve. And, people are buying into the MJ ways.
Certainly a lot up in the air. Second half of the season already underway and will be continuing this weekend. Darnell, what also is up in the air is a showcase that is going to have the SJ and the MJ finally playing together cross-provincially, this time in Manitoba. We're going to come back after the break to discuss how that's going to happen, if it'll happen, and what we could look forward to seeing here on the ice. Coming back with Darnell Duff here on the ice, brought to you by Case Financial Group, Duiff Fuels, Palamount Hockey Academy, and Toby Hockey. Now, we've got the first half in the books. The second half looks mighty fine, Darnell, but up close and closer to my heart, I really like the idea of cross-provincial junior hockey during the season. I think it's a great testament to see grading and how well each league can compare itself to one another. This time, for the first time in several years, the MJ and the SJ are hoping to have their participants playing at the Seven Oaks Arena January 25th and 26th. What have you heard so far with how that's proceeding and how it's going to look in a couple of weeks' time?
Well, I guess to go on that as well, first of all, the MJHL were supposed to have an all-star game with the U of M, and that game was, that was actually supposed to be last night. It went quietly under the rug. You didn't really hear about it unless you were a head coach and GM that it was canceled because of COVID. So, the general public would have had no idea that game was canceled because the MJ didn't announce it. The U of M didn't announce it. So when you look at that, is that is that a downside to, is that what's going to happen with the MJSJ Showcase? Of course, it would be publicized more. It would be publicized by the MJ. It would be publicized by the SJ. In my opinion, if you have a bunch of negative tests from the All-Stars from the MJ and the All-Stars from the SJ, there's no reason that this, this event shouldn't be able to take place. I mean, you have to perhaps take some more precautions, but at the same time, you look at the World Juniors, what happened there with all of, I don't even know how you describe what happened in the World Juniors.
We can't describe that one. We'll get to that later, Darnell, but right now it's still a big, massive, oh my gosh. Like,
yeah,
really?
It's a big, massive, oh my gosh. And that, but also at the same time, you don't want that same thing to happen for the MJ and SJ. You cannot afford to have a big, oh my gosh. So I could see both leagues, perhaps being a little extra cautious and saying, maybe we want this event to happen, but maybe this isn't the time to do it. I sure hope it happens. I mean, whenever you put the SJ against the MJ, whether it be in an Anavet Cup of old or in the showcase in the past couple of years, not last year, but the prior in Regina at the Cooperator Center, the action was always incredible. It was almost like a playoff series at a showcase. MJ and SJ, they have that rivalry. I would love for both leagues to come together to play some regular season matches against each other. I think that would just intensify things that much more. So I wouldn't be surprised if they took another year off of the showcase. I hope that's not the case, because I know fans in Winnipeg, fans in Manitoba are finally looking forward to a taste of this event actually coming to their home province after being in Regina for a couple of years. But I wouldn't be surprised if they wanted to be a little extra cautious, especially with what happened in a tournament format in the World Juniors. But I guess we'll see. The decision is going to have to be soon, because the event is only about, in that range of 20 days away. So we're going to find out probably in the next week or so if it's a go. Hopefully it's a go, and hopefully, things taper down with this Omicron variant. But it's certainly a hot topic, and we'll be breaking news whether it's on or whether it's not on. If it's on, we're going to be talking and highlighting all the rosters from both teams. And if it's not on, we're going to be highlighting why is this not taking place, and, some frustration from both leagues for sure.
60 players from each league. The way it is broken down, it's going to be 2 teams full of 20-year-olds and a young squad, an 18-year-old crew. Darnell, do you like that setup? Do you like that format? Obviously, the names are going to be there. We're going to have names like Zajac and White Cloud representing the teams. They're going to be called that. And certainly it's going to be a measuring stick for the prospects of what is coming out of each league. And secondly, a measuring stick to see the talent and the competitiveness between leagues, because we know that winners of the MJ and the winners of the SJ will still play Western Junior Hockey Championships upcoming after seasons are done.
Well, we talked about the Anavet Cup, and, right now things are sort of in limbo, because in a normal year, Alberta would play BC. BC is no longer a part of Hockey Canada. There's been some talk of letting the winner of the BC League in so they can play Alberta. I don't understand how that's fair. And I've heard some rumors that there may not be an Anavet Cup this year, which I think would be extremely unfortunate with Estevan hosting the Centennial Cup. But I think at the end of the day, I love the format. I like the fact that 20-year-olds really get to show off their stuff, because at the end of the day, yes, you want that exposure for the 18 and 19-year-olds for sure. The Div 1 scouts, that's when they sign those players to their standard player agreements and, to their contracts for the future. But 20-year-olds, this is their one last chance to shine, to show off for, Canadian universities, Division III schools south of the border. So I really do like the format. I love how it works together. I think the coaching staffs will do a good job. With that said, as a coach, there's probably not a whole lot you're actually going to do in the MJSJ Showcase, because it's basically, for the lack of a better term, an all-star game between the top 2 in both leagues. But I like the format. I like the fact that 20-year-olds get one last chance in a showcase anyways to show what they can do in front of all these scouts. And then, of course, you trickle in the 18 and 19-year-olds for sure. They get that exposure as well. So overall, I really do enjoy how this showcase is set up. I think it ran super well in Regina for the couple of years it was there, and hopefully, just fingers crossed, that we get the opportunity to watch it in Manitoba and Winnipeg as well.
How important do you think it is for the players now, wherever it's hosted, Regina, Winnipeg, to have showcases like this, knowing that the travel and the exposure is larger now more than ever to the avenues getting south of the border, and those opportunities to continue into the next level, whether it be ACHA, Div 3, possibly D1 schools that are still looking to fulfill talent, but even just to play and have that opportunity to, once you age out of the MJ, to then continue your career at the next level of hockey.
Yeah, it's absolutely critical. It's massive. And you mentioned the avenues. There's, back in the day, there wasn't online scouting. There wasn't that. But now you have Hockey TV, and all the scouts, even if they're not in the stands, are going to be tuning in. It's such a great exposure event. And that's the one thing, I really did notice from the MJ Showcase. A lot of these players, once the showcase comes around, they're focused solely on that showcase and perhaps not on the game at hands, because they know scouts are going to be at that event. They don't want to get hurt. They're playing perhaps a little bit tentative because they want to be safe and they want to get the chance to show themselves at the showcase. So these players, they know how important this event is. They understand the importance, how critical this is, because really, I know it is only a couple of games over a couple of days, but it really could set you up for your future. I mean, you always hear of players signing Div 3 contracts, Div 1 contracts, Canadian University out of that showcase. So they know how important these games are. And when you're putting the best against the best, you're playing all against all the top teams. I mean, you're playing, I should say, all the top players in the SJ, and the SJ are going to be doing the same things against the MJ. And these are two top end elite leagues where a lot of solid players are going to go on and play at the next level. So they know how important these games are. And if it wasn't to be played, there's no doubt there'd be some heartbreak. I mean, it's been brought up in the dressing room already. What if this event wouldn't go on? There'd be heartbreak. They'd be, discouraged. It would be unfortunate, for the lack of a better term. So I think both leagues have to find a way to get this event done, do whatever it takes. I don't think you can bubble because, they're going to want, at the end of the day, they're going to want fans in the stands to make some revenue off this event because, if you have 300 fans at each game, that's some solid revenue if you charge, $10 a game. So they're not going to be able to likely do that bubble, but they have to find a way to safely do this event. Players don't come in contact with any fans or anything of that. They have to find a way to get this event done. And I sincerely and hope they can get that done.
January 25th, 26th, Seven Oaks Arena, the 6 teams, 120 participants. Hopefully they have the parameters and the guidelines set up so that we can see this done. It would be a heartbreak, like you see, a discouragement not to see this happen. I'm pretty sure both leagues are doing everything they can to make sure it does. One thing that you and I definitely look forward to, Darnell, every Christmas season, we've called it the most important time of the year, the most wonderful time of the year, but it was shortly lived because of our good pal, Mr. Omicron, and lack of a bubble in Red Deer at Edmonton. Question to you, Darnell. I mean, the year previous, they did wrap it up in a bubble. They did participate in a bubble. Of course, no fans. But seeing how things were trending, why not have that as a backup plan just to see the event go through? Does financial stance and money from gate really mean that much to Hockey Canada to say, no, we can't do this for the second year in a row?
Well, the simple answer is yes, for
Done.
sure. At the end of the day, it's all about money for these guys. And it really did show because, they went through the bubble last year. Of course, they didn't make that revenue, but they also didn't have any cases. And at the end of the day, no games were postponed. They played an entire championship. Now they figured for whatever reason this year, they wouldn't have to bubble. In Red Deer, I believe some of the teams were in contact with, there was a big wedding or something like that in the Red Deer Hotel. And those teams got COVID and then, postponement after postponement. Ultimately, games were canceled, and ultimately the tournament was canceled. I scratch my head, shake my head, don't understand. I don't think I'll ever understand why this tournament wasn't bubbled. And, you haven't heard from Hockey Canada or the IIHF, say why it wasn't. Why they thought they could run this tournament with fans in the stands and, mingling at the hotel, that sorts of thing, is absolutely beyond me. It makes no sense in my opinion. This is an event that had to be bubbled. Who cares about the money? I know everything's about money these days. I understand that, but this is one of the greatest, if not the best, hockey tournaments in the world. I absolutely love it. The World Juniors every year, it's like the pride and joy of the holiday season. And for it to come down to a crumbling halt like this is, in my opinion, a travesty. It's unfortunate. I hope they learn their lesson. I hope, next year we're not living, of course, through this pandemic. But if for some reason we are, you have to bubble this event. And for it to be canceled, that was a mockery. And that was Hockey Canada really showed its stuff. That was a tough decision not to get these guys in the bubble.
They brought the dirty tuxedo to the laundry room, and the laundry room said, no, we're not doing it. Bottom line is, there's been talk, Darnell, of having not only the World Junior commence again in the summertime, but possibly the Ontario Women's Junior Hockey League program has also stepped up and said, we want to host the women's side of it. Do you think both of those events could happen in the summer, either as a matinee to conference finals and Stanley Cup finals, or shortly after?
Well, now that you bring up the women's, I'm happy you brought up the women's tournament because that's a complete joke that tournament was just canceled for the second year in a row. How in the world you want to try and grow this sport? You want to take this tournament away from these ladies that may only get one opportunity in their history to play for Team Canada, and you're not even going to try and get some solution to it, reschedule it, postpone it, find a new date, enter a bubble. You're just going to say, no, we're just going to pull the plug. That made me irate, and there was so much controversy online, and understandably so. That's a complete joke that event was canceled. It should be running. Of course, sure, postpone it, reschedule it. I like the fact that Ontario is doing that, and the IIHF better make this right and let those ladies play. That event needs to happen this summer. And the World Juniors, that would be awesome if it would go bang, bang. I mean, if you're putting this Women's World Championship on, you're worried about people aren't going to view it. You're not going to make any money. If you put it on primetime spots, get all the top broadcasters there, get the publicity that it deserves, people are going to watch. Women's hockey does not get near enough credit. These women are fantastic at what they do. They deserve a lot of credit. And, so do the men as well. So, going bang, bang, running these tournaments, in my opinion, is an absolute must. Of course, with the NHL draft, I think they're talking about trying to get it before the draft. So, one last chance to show your stock before the NHL draft. But you have to find a way this summer to get the women's championship in, and you have to find a way to get the, girls championship in. If you have to bubble, you have to bubble. But you got to make it right this time and do things right and get these two championships on and running.
If it wasn't about the money, it's about the players having the opportunity to play for country, play for flag, play for a nation. I think that's first and foremost. Darnell, I would agree. Couldn't agree with you more. What's going to happen before summertime? It's our last topic of discussion for the evening here with you. We've seen the World Juniors. We've seen countless NHLers show up, speak on behalf of themselves and how upset and irate they are for having the opportunity to play for country in the Olympics this year, even though it was considered as part of the agreement through their discussions before the season even started. Now we're not seeing NHLers, and we're seeing potential rosters, I'll put it that way, from both Canada and the United States being released, including some D1 players, some AHL players, some players that have not made or cracked NHL rosters this year. What have we learned thus far in the last month to allow and say, you know what, may not be, what about the argument, it may not be safe for NHLers to go, but why does it make it safe for these other players to go and participate for nation? Or is it just something that they're able to do because their stock isn't as worth as much to a professional hockey organization?
Well, I mean, first of all, representing your country. My brother played in the Olympics with Team Canada. He said, of all of his achievements, winning a national with the U of W, there's no greater pride and honor than getting the chance to represent your country at an Olympics. And to take that away from all these players and then say the NHL, no, you guys can't, because it's all about money at the end of the day. And then, but you want to send guys like Owen Power and all these Division I players and say, yeah, you guys can go, because right now you don't mean as much as the likes of Connor McDavid and Sidney Crosby if they went. It's just, it's a frustrating topic. I mean, why, at the end of the day, this is human life we're talking about. Why? I just hate that it's all about the money these days. That's really all it is about. And it's just so frustrating that you're taking these opportunities away. Patrice Bergeron mentioned exactly what you said. They had it in their agreement, and now they can't go. Bergeron was like, this makes absolutely zero sense. And a lot of people don't, or not Patrice Bergeron, sorry, Brad Marchand. And, people were saying, a lot of people don't like him. That's their opinion. But they said, yeah, he's 100% right. I agree with him. And the facts are the facts. He had nothing but facts in that whole statement he had. So, these decisions are just an outcry for help. It's a disaster of a situation.
Regardless, I'm looking forward. If they do send, when they do send teams, I mean, obviously they're going to have to quarantine or do some sort of follow-up or sort of pre-follow-up to get to China for the 22s. If you were given an opportunity to lace some skates up, would you go, Darnell?
Yeah, that's a tough question. You want to represent your country, and I believe players should be given the option. Would I go? I think I probably would.
I would in a heartbeat.
Without
a doubt.
to, you would or wouldn't?
I would.
Yeah,
You
I
want me
would.
to?
I mean,
If you and I, Darnell, had the opportunity to jump a flag, put on our flag, either lace skates or call a game over there, I think you and I would go in a heartbeat.
well, I don't see how you can say no, especially with, the precautions that would have to be in place. I mean, you're going to have to go, a week, 2 weeks early. You're going to quarantine for those 2 weeks, and you're probably going to be in, a modified bubble. And to represent your country, you may only get, sure, you might get, 3, 4, 5, 6 opportunities to do so. But for some players, it's their last kick of the can. They get one chance to represent your nation. It's the greatest achievement in the world that in that specific sport, this sport would be hockey, you were named to a roster that signifies you're one of the top 25 Canadians in the world. What other greater honor can you get than that? So for sure, if I had the opportunity, I'd be there in a heartbeat.
Absolutely. No, Darnell, I thank you so much for joining me. It's certainly great to catch up on the MJ and the SJ discussion because I don't think it gets enough light in terms of opinion and press. Just simply looking at statistics on their website is not enough. The league certainly has come back in a resurgence. We would love to see more fans, obviously, with the cases that are going on. We're going to hopefully see as many as we can. Showcase occurring, like you said, on the 25th and 26th. And good luck calling the rest of the season for you, Darnell. I look forward to seeing how well the Kings do, as well as their championship run or their finish to the top of the division. And we'll keep in touch and see how things roll out for the remainder of the season.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Theo. Anytime you want to, you want some company, I'm all good to talk. And I agree with you 100%. The MJ and the SJ junior hockey doesn't, outside CJHL, doesn't get enough love. So anytime you want to give the league some love, I'm certainly all for it.
Darnell Duiff, the host of the play-by-play, announcing name, and hear him. The voice is so good in Dauphin, and I can't give credit to the arena because it's not the greatest of acoustic sounds. I'll put it that way. But Darnell Duiff, the play-by-play voice of the Dauphin Kings, joining me on the ice tonight here on A's TV. Thanks for watching, everyone, bringing more goodness to the greatness. And, of course, take care of yourselves, take care of your neighbors, and stay warm, bundle up, put on the long johns, right, Darnell? Because it's chilly out there.
Bone jarring, folks.
Bone jarring. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great weekend. We'll be back on Tuesday night. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye for now. Welcome to Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy, your world-class academic and hockey training facility created to maximize each student's athletic and academic potential. Blackjack Stewart Arena, home of the Buffalo, is inside the 46,000 square foot complex, as well as a curling rink and other facilities. The students have a unique combination of successful, well-rounded education at Pilot Mountain Collegiate Institute and the professional hockey training in an encouraging community. The years of experience of on-ice coaching propel our students to the next level, both mentally and physically, in a professional environment.